Pay very close attention to the absolute, chilling shift in the atmosphere when a predator suddenly realizes they just walked directly into a lion's den while wearing a blindfold. There is a very specific, paralyzing kind of terror that takes over a human being when their own arrogance completely blinds them to reality, and they accidentally trigger a trap they did not even know existed. For months, they treated you like an absolute amateur. They looked at your incredibly quiet demeanor, your unbreakable patience, and your strict refusal to engage in their pathetic, low-level drama, and they completely miscalculated your position on the board. They looked at you and they saw a pawn. They arrogantly convinced themselves that you were an isolated, easily manipulated target that they could casually step on to elevate their own fragile, hollow ego. They were so incredibly confident in their own manufactured delusion that they decided to take their smear campaign to the absolute next level. They wanted to humiliate you. They wanted to permanently ruin your reputation. So they took your name out of their mouth and they brought it into a room where they absolutely did not belong. They brought your name to the people at the very top. They walked into that room expecting a standing ovation. They genuinely thought this high-level elite network was going to agree with their toxic narrative, laugh with them, and help them completely isolate and destroy you. They sat down. They spun their incredibly fake, carefully rehearsed story. They played the victim flawlessly, and then they eagerly waited for the applause. But the applause never came. Instead, the room went completely, terrifyingly silent. The individuals at the top did not entertain a single second of their gossip. They just stared at this manipulator with a cold, piercing, entirely unamused expression, completely seeing through their cheap, transparent mask. And then they asked one single, quiet, devastating question. Do you have any idea who you are really dealing with? In that exact microscopic moment, you could practically hear the manipulator's ego violently shatter into a million unrecoverable pieces. The blood completely drained from their face. Their nervous system went into absolute shock. They suddenly realized, with a crushing weight on their chest, that while they were busy playing checkers in the dirt, desperately trying to ruin your life with petty rumors, you had been operating in the shadows, quietly building an empire and networking with titans. They realized, far too late, that your total silence was never a symptom of weakness. It was the absolute, heavy confidence of someone who has a massive, untouchable fortress standing directly behind them. They thought you were entirely alone in this world, but they just brutally found out that your name is highly respected, heavily protected, and deeply revered by the exact people that they desperately look up to. This is the ultimate catastrophic system failure for a toxic mind. They are experiencing a complete psychological collapse. Their brains simply cannot compute how you manage to pull this off without making a single sound. To a manipulator, power is something you have to scream about. Power is something you have to constantly show off on the internet to prove it exists. They honestly thought that because you weren't bragging, you simply had nothing to brag about. They literally do not possess the psychological hardware to understand the elite concept of moving in absolute silence. They completely failed to realize that the absolute most dangerous people in any room are never the loudest ones. The most dangerous people are the ones who sit quietly, observing every single detail, because they already hold all the winning cards. You discovered the ultimate masterstroke of social and energetic dominance. You let them underestimate you. You remained completely unbothered while you quietly secured your position at the highest possible altitude. I want you to visualize the absolute, suffocating panic they are drowning in right now. They are desperately trying to backtrack. They are stammering, sweating, and frantically trying to alter their story in real time because they know they just crossed a boundary that they can never, ever uncross. They just permanently exposed themselves as a liar, a liability, and a snake to the exact high-tier individuals they were desperately trying to impress. The sheer poetic irony of their downfall is an absolute masterpiece. They enthusiastically tried to dig a massive grave for your reputation, but they accidentally dug it in the dead center of a minefield, and they just stepped firmly on the detonator. They are going to go home tonight, lock their door, and they are going to sit entirely alone in the dead, suffocating silence of their room, completely paralyzed by their own racing thoughts. They are going to obsessively overthink every single interaction, every text message, and every passing conversation they ever had with you. The memories are going to violently flash through their mind on an endless, agonizing loop. It is going to feel like their entire perception of reality is completely shattering and rearranging itself right in front of their eyes. They are going to vividly remember all the times you just sat there, perfectly calm, and smiled at their blatant disrespect. They are going to remember the specific times they tried to aggressively poke the bear, desperately trying to drag you down into their messy, chaotic environment, and you simply walked away from their heated arguments without breaking a single drop of sweat. Back then, they relied on pure, unfiltered delusion to convince themselves that your silence meant you were deeply intimidated. They genuinely thought they were dominating the social dynamic and winning the psychological war. The level of their arrogance was absolutely astronomical. But suddenly, staring at the ceiling tonight, all of those quiet, passive moments are going to make terrifying, crystal-clear sense to them. The realization is going to hit their nervous system so incredibly hard that it leaves them permanently altered. They will finally realize that you were not avoiding their attacks because you were scared or backed into a corner. You were avoiding them because you were looking at them like a completely harmless, slightly annoying insect that simply was not worth the physical energy required to step on it. You were operating on an entirely different dimensional plane. You had already mastered the art of extreme emotional detachment, effortlessly preserving your incredibly heavy, intimidating presence, while they completely drained their own batteries, desperately trying to get your attention. You already knew your elite status. You already fully understood the catastrophic magnitude of your own influence. You were never retreating from their drama out of fear. You were patiently sitting back, completely untouched and unbothered, actively waiting for them to publicly and irreversibly hang themselves with their own rope. And they delivered exactly what you expected, right on schedule. Watch them scramble in real time, because what you are witnessing is pure cognitive dissonance at its absolute finest. It is a desperate, frantic, psychological attempt to protect their completely shattered ego from a total collapse. Right now, they are sitting in total isolation, pacing back and forth, replaying that exact, disastrous conversation on a loop. They are fabricating excuses out of thin air, desperately trying to convince themselves that it was just a massive misunderstanding. They will whisper to themselves that maybe the person at the top is just biased, or maybe you somehow manipulated the situation first. They have to surgically inject these pathetic, transparent lies directly into their own brain. Because if they actually accepted the brutal reality of what just happened, the sheer crushing humiliation would permanently break their spirit. It is tragically fascinating to watch a human being fight so incredibly hard against the undeniable truth. But here is the inescapable reality for them. No matter how loudly they lie to their remaining friends, no matter how many fake stories they desperately spin, deep down in the absolute darkest, most incredibly insecure corners of their hollow soul, they know exactly what they did. They know they completely, irreversibly failed. They walked around acting like a mastermind playing three-dimensional chess, but they just realized they threw away their most valuable asset when they decided to turn against you. They knowingly played with fire, fully expecting to burn your name to the ground. But the wind immediately shifted. They ended up completely incinerating their own house, their own credibility, and their entire social network down to the bare, smoking foundation. The realization is literally eating them alive. They are entirely shaken by the agonizing fact that they deliberately picked a fight with a sleeping giant. And the absolute most devastating part of the entire scenario is this. The giant did not even have to open its eyes to completely destroy them. You did not even have to wake up, defend yourself, or step one foot onto the battlefield. Your allies, your high-tier network, and the immense, crushing weight of your flawless reputation handled the extermination automatically. Your character did all the heavy lifting, neutralizing the toxic threat completely on autopilot, while you were literally busy doing nothing but elevating your own life. Think about the massive amount of psychological energy you conserve by refusing to defend yourself. The old version of you would have heard the malicious rumors and immediately panicked. The old you would have rushed to clear your name, frantically calling people, sending long paragraphs, and desperately defending your character to people who were entirely committed to misunderstanding you. But the upgraded, untouchable version of you just sat back in total luxury and let the architecture of your life do the heavy lifting. You finally understood that a high-value character defends itself. You built a foundation of integrity so dense and undeniable that when a toxic person tries to attack it, their lies simply bounce off and hit them right back in the face. You let their own chaotic, desperate energy act as the exact weapon that destroyed them. You have successfully elevated your entire existence to a level where you are completely, undeniably bulletproof. Think about the absolute magnitude of that upgrade. You didn't just climb a few steps up their pathetic little ladder. You completely removed yourself from their building. The people at the top, the elite individuals who actually matter in the grand scheme of your life, they instantly recognize your frequency. They speak your exact language without you ever having to utter a single word. It is a silent, undeniable, mutual respect among titans. They see the heavy, grounded way you carry yourself, and they know exactly what kind of fire you had to walk through to build that level of self-mastery. So, when a low-tier manipulator tries to enter that high-altitude airspace with their cheap, recycled drama, the contrast is absolutely blinding. They walk into a room of heavyweights trying to pass off their petty gossip as facts, and they are immediately identified as a foreign, toxic threat and entirely neutralized by the room itself. They expect the elite circle to enthusiastically join in on the hate, but instead, they are met with cold, unamused stares. The high-value people look at this manipulator, wondering why this chaotic, insecure person was even allowed past the front door. Their usual manipulation tactics completely short-circuit in this environment, leaving them entirely panicked when nobody takes their bait. They try to spin their little web of lies, and the room just silently judges them into oblivion. And the absolute most beautiful part of this entire asymmetrical dynamic is that you do not even have to lift a single finger to defend your name. You have mastered the ultimate strategy for reputation management. Your character is so completely self-sustaining, so heavily fortified and intimidating that it acts as an automated, invisible shield. It naturally filters out the garbage, the rumors, and the toxic noise long before it ever even reaches your ears. While they are frantically trying to cope with the brutal reality that their smear campaign just backfired and destroyed their own reputation, you are sleeping peacefully, completely untouched. You absolutely outgrew the need to fight battles that your character is already winning for you on absolute autopilot. They are going to have to live with this terrifying revelation for the rest of their miserable lives. Every single time they see your name, every time they hear someone mention you in a room, they are going to feel a cold shiver go down their spine. They will constantly wonder who else you know. They will constantly wonder how far your reach actually extends. You became an absolute enigma to them. You are a puzzle they can never solve, a door they can never unlock, and a force they can never, ever control. They desperately wanted to treat you like a stepping stone, but they just brutally realized you are the entire mountain. Let them sit in the agonizing terror of their own massive miscalculation. Let them blindly scramble to save their pathetic reputation while you continue to ascend in complete, untouchable silence. You have absolutely nothing to prove to people who cannot even comprehend the concept of an empire. You just keep operating at that ultra-high resolution. Keep your moves entirely unpredictable. Keep your inner circle ruthlessly guarded, and let the sheer, crushing weight of your influence do all the talking. Watch them drown in their own realization. Leave them entirely in the dark.